And then the third thing that I would add is this. I want you to understand the right terms that you're using. And so let me define for you what I mean by those terms. Okay, biblical means that the Bible has said yes to it. The Bible has said this is what you're supposed to do. Unbiblical means the Bible has specifically said no. This is something that you are not supposed to do as a follower of Jesus Christ. But then there's this category that's non-biblical, and that's where the Bible doesn't say anything explicitly about it. It doesn't say yes, and it doesn't say no. In fact, the Bible may not even mention it at all. Let me give you just a really simple example. When somebody says to me, this is how you're supposed to celebrate Christmas. What does the Bible say about celebrating Christmas? Doesn't mention it. Or if somebody says to me, this is what's supposed to take place in a church service. When you get together and you're having a church service, these are the things that have to be in that church service. Does the Bible specifically say that? So these are non-biblical issues. Now listen, non-biblical issues aren't necessarily wrong. But here's what where the problem comes in. Jesus a couple times had conversations with the Pharisees about what he called your traditions, these things that you've just handed down. They're not biblical and they're not unbiblical. They're just traditions. They're the way that you're doing things. But the Pharisees had taken those non-biblical things and had elevated them to biblical status. Now, the danger is if I do that in my life, if I take something that the Bible does not mention at all, a non-biblical thing, and I give it the weight of a biblical statement, then that opens the door for my attitudes or my actions to become unbiblical. You see let me give you that example with those Pharisees again. They said, okay, one of our traditions is you have to wash your hands this way. The Bible doesn't say that, but they made it a biblical thing. And then when people didn't do it that way, then in their hearts, they looked down on them. They excluded them. They would push them out of the temple. They would view them as second-class citizens, not worthy to receive God's blessing. That became something very unbiblical, something that God specifically told us not to do in the way that we treat other people.